This customer ordered a gravity-defying cake for her daughter's tea party-themed birthday. It was so much fun to put together. Here's how I made it. I started out by frosting 3 layers of 8-inch cake in this lilac-colored buttercream. Then I stacked the top tier, which was 2 layers of 6-inch cake that I frosted in light pink buttercream. I placed the cake in the fridge while I start working on my teacups. So the general design that the customer wanted was a 2-tier cake, and on top she wanted a teapot pouring out these beautiful flowers onto some teacups. I decided that I wanted to make 3 teacups to stack, and I made these by bunching up a couple of Rice Krispies into this dome shape. I placed it upside down on a cake board and began adding my buttercream. I added a first layer, almost like a crumb coat, and then I put it in the freezer. When I took it out after about 10 minutes, I refrosted another layer. I used this flexible scraper to make sure the sides were smoothed out. Then I put this back in the freezer while I got my fondant ready. I started out with the pink one. I rolled out my pink fondant and covered the Rice Krispie. For the most part, I just used my hands to smooth it down, and I ended up using this fondant smoothing tool to get the sides. Then I grab an X-Acto knife to cut around that Rice Krispie and get rid of all of the extra fondant. I grab a knife and slide it under to remove it from the board. And here is what the base of that teacup looks like. I now have to fill it with, of course, tea, so I made this really light brown/ivory colored fondant. I cut out a circle that fits the exact size of the top of the Rice Krispie. Then I repeat this process for all 3 teacups. I made 1 pink, 1 white, and 1 purple. Here's a close-up of that colored tea that I chose. I didn't want it to be too dark and then it looks like coffee, so I went with a lighter color. Once I had the base of all 3 teacups done, I decided to paint the rims gold. I made this gold paint by mixing up some edible gold luster dust with some lemon extract. I grabbed a small brush and painted along the top of each teacup and repeated this step for all 3. Next, I knew that I wanted to add some type of design on the teacups so they wouldn't look too plain. So I thought it would look really cute to hand paint floral designs. I grabbed 2 small bowls and added 1 drop of pink food coloring to one and green food coloring to the other one, and I watered them down. I grabbed a tiny brush and began painting all of the flowers and stems. Once again, I repeated this process for all 3 teacups, and now they're just about done. The last part is adding the little handle. Here I am adding the white one, the purple one, and the pink one. Now I can bring the cake back out. When I was assembling the bottom tier, I just made sure to scooch the cake all the way to one side to leave me some room for the teacups. I was pretty confident that they weren't going to be sliding around or falling off of each other, but just in case, I used a stick to put through all of them to make sure they stay together for transporting purposes. And now to make the teapot. I purchased a 4-inch styrofoam sphere and I covered it in white fondant. I attached this little fondant half sphere on top and I added this little border along the bottom of it. I sculpted the little handle and attached it to the right side. Then I sculpted the spout and I attached it onto the left side using a toothpick and clear piping gel. I grabbed a gold sphere cake topper that I already had and I placed it on top, and I thought this looked so cute. I attached the teapot on top of the cake at an angle. And now for the interesting part, getting the flowers to come out of the teapot onto the teacups. I grabbed a few of these floral wires that I already had and I twisted them together to make them more sturdy. I stuck one end into the top of the teacups and the other end onto the spout of the teapot. I bagged up some buttercream that I made the exact color of that tea in the cups. I piped some along all of the floral wire and then I began adding all of the flowers. I made about 30 of these little fondant flowers in different shades of purple, yellow, pink, and white. Now that all of the flowers are placed, I move on to the base of the cake. I decide to hand paint those same flowers that are on the teacups onto the bottom tier. I really love how these came out and it was my first time making them. I dipped the brush in the pink color and just dabbed onto the cake a few times to create the flower, and then I painted the leaves. I also didn't want to leave the teapot just plain white, so I did the same design onto the teapot. And last, the customer wanted me to include the birthday girl's name, which is Kiari. So I decided to risk it all and hand paint her name on the front of the top tier in gold paint. I painted this super slow so that I wouldn't mess up and have to re-scrape the cake. I had to speed up this one clip times 9 just to squeeze it in. That's how slow I was going, but I'm so happy it came out great. And now this tea party themed cake is all done. Here's what it looks like. I hope you guys like this one.